So the question is, what is the Bitcoin prediction for March 2025? Well, actually, it's probably one of the most difficult months ever in the last few years to predict for Bitcoin, I would say. So, straight up, if you're disappointed, I'm sorry about that, but it really is like that at the moment. It's just pretty crazy. I mean, for starters, right, we're in a post-election year, and there's always a honeymoon, for stock market in general and other things. Always a honeymoon right after inauguration and going up to inauguration, and that's exactly what happened this year with the stock market and with crypto. And then there's always a testing time going into March, or it's not uncommon. And here we find ourselves. So yeah, right now there's a lot of put activity on the stock market. There's a lot of real negative sentiment. Some people think we're on the verge of a crash. I mean, it's kind of fashionable to always say there's going to be a crash and a crash is overdue, but this is a real troubling time. I mean, if we get through this on the upside, people are going to quickly forget about this sentiment. They're going to be like, oh well, everybody was depressed, but there was nothing to worry about. I'm sure that's what will happen. But right now, before we're out of this, it looks kind of messy right now. Really mixed picture. Very difficult to tell. Stocks have been overpriced for 3 years, and the only thing that's really been driving the market is the AI bubble. Or is it a bubble, or what is it? I mean, I don't know. And then Trump came in. Everybody knew he was going to do tariffs, but for some reason the market seems a bit surprised that he's actually following through. I mean, I'm not surprised. That's literally what he ran on. And the tariff thing is a bit strange, really, because it's not like the world had free trade before Trump. Actually, tariffs were quite widespread. And of course, he is introducing new tariffs or increasing old ones, and he's being very targeted and very public about it. But the world never had free trade before. There was always some tariffs. And in fact, actually, tariffs are not per se a bad thing. Free trade, lack of tariffs, can harm both developed and developing economies. That is Trump's argument, that it's harming America. But it's not a new concept. I think a lot of people just forgot about it and assumed that a lack of tariffs, so-called free trade, and part of the problem is the name, right? That it's free, it somehow implies some kind of liberty in your economy, and it can only be a good thing, and it's just a term that was coined. So actually, anyway, the market is spooked on this. By the way, I'm not trying to argue for tariffs. I'm just saying that they need not necessarily be looked on as a negative thing, in my view, in the long term. But at least in the short term, the market has reacted very, very badly to Trump's tariffs. So you could argue it could be a buying opportunity if you really think that it's not going to be so negative and the market is overreacting. That's a view to take. But anyway, the prediction for this month is going to be a lot of chop, a lot of here, there, and everywhere. I actually don't think we're going to get a clear signal for at least a month. I think we're going to have more of this, and I think markets are going to trade sideways, and we could also have more sudden pumps and sudden dumps. But when all has been said and done, I feel like actually we're not going to be any the wiser until the very end of the month. And then at that point, although there's a chance that it could just be a slow and steady trajectory out of this month, not a massive bull run and neither a crash, I think in a way it's more likely that we're going to find out one way or the other. It's just going to be a continuation of the bull run. Maybe people aren't going to be as giddy. They're not going to dream of going to 250k for Bitcoin. Instead, maybe they're going to say, okay, 150 is more reasonable. But I feel like we're probably not going to see more than 100k this month. I think we might possibly get close to it, and possibly test it. That Trump pump took us to I forget where it took us to. Yeah, it took us to about 94k. But that was a real sudden huge pump, and the market was pretty weak before then. So during this month, I can't really see us escaping out of 100k, and I do think it's possible we could retest the earlier lows of as low as 77k. So I see it being a very volatile month. I don't see it being a quiet month. But even so, I don't really see it breaking out of these ranges that we've already established. So that is quite a wide band still, from 77 to 100. So, but I see that as the new range, quite a wide range for March. That's my humble opinion. I was going to say non-expert opinion, but frankly, in crypto, there are no experts. Don't believe it if someone says they're an expert, or if someone is thought to be an expert. No one's an expert. I don't know anyone who's ever called correctly the Bitcoin bottom and the Bitcoin top. So if you've got a long-term time horizon, it's probably as good a time as any to just keep doing what you're doing and hold on and keep DCAing in. If you have a lot more to protect, then that's a different matter. You might want to take a lower risk option. There are a few options. I mean, it's not really possible to diversify in this market, because basically alts are just bleeding and just not a good place to be right now. And Bitcoin itself is, even though it's the most stable crypto of them all, as we've just talked about, it's still pretty crazy. Something that you can do is, there are other options. I wouldn't call them normal alts, but there are other options. Like you could sell some holdings and put them into stable coins, basically reduce your position in the market, and you'll be limiting your gains, but you'll also be limiting the downsides. So that might work for some people. Really depends on your risk appetite. I don't have much risk right now for the market the way it is. It's true that you've got to have you've got to be pretty heavy in Bitcoin to be primed for possible upside potential. If you reduce your holding, you might miss out on some of the early gains in a bull run. But I just this could be the end of the bull run in my opinion. So I'm kind of lowering my risk. There's various ways to do that. There are coins that are claimed to follow the real estate market. There are coins that are claimed to follow gold, and as I say, there's stable coins. But most alts, are, apart from the ones I mentioned, are generally not stable. They're liable to dump hard. So yeah, that's kind of the way I see it. My prediction is a range for the rest of the month, but a wide range. And then hopefully we get some direction after. I don't see us re-establishing a bull run in this month. And there is a possibility of a crash, but we'll be pretty heavily oversold, so I can't see that either. But who knows? Who knows? My opinion is no more informed than anyone else's, including yours. Just go around gathering opinions, and then you decide what to do. None of these opinions are financial advice, so good luck, and hopefully just keep educating yourself. Take care.